If you're not profitable, the solution is really simple. You either cut expenses or you charge more. If you're like most plumbing and heating contractors, your expenses are already as low as they can go. You're struggling to get by, you're charging less than the big companies, and every time you hear a high price from another contractor, you think they're ripping people off. But the truth is, it's not that they're charging too much, it's that you haven't been shown how to do it yet, how to charge the right price yet. I've lived this. I've undercharged, I've believed the stories, and I've also learned what actually causes customers to happily choose higher priced options. In this episode, you'll understand what's really happening when customers say yes to higher prices and why charging more is the foundational skill behind every profitable business. I'll walk you through how the market actually works, how to present options customers want to buy, and why the more you know technically, the easier it is to become and charge the right price without pressure or guilt. So let's get into it. Let's start here because this is the belief that's killing your profit. Every time you hear another contractor charged way more than you would have, your brain immediately goes, that's insane. I'd never do that to anybody. Here's the truth. Price has nothing to do with ethics. Value does. The market is not one group of people who all want the cheapest option. The market is made up of different buyers, and some of them are actively looking for the best, not the cheapest. Here's something most contractors never learn. Roughly 20% of the market will happily spend 3 to 4 times more than everyone else if you have something they value. And here's the part that matters. Those customers already exist in your service area. You don't need better marketing. You don't need a new logo. You just need to know how to serve them. Arguing about what something should cost is a complete waste of time. The only thing that matters is whether the customer sees enough value to say yes. So if charging more isn't about ripping people off, what is it about? It comes down to 3 things, and these 3 things shape the culture of a profitable company. Number 1, understanding the market you're actually serving. Number 2, how you explore and present options. And number 3, and this one matters more than people want to admit it, how technically sound you really are. Over the rest of this episode, I'm going to break each of these down so you can stop guessing and start charging like a professional. So let's talk about the market. And this is one of my favorite things. You see, the market is, we're always thinking about what should the price be, right? But do we say that about, let's just bring it home. Do we say that about a impact drill? Are we going in saying what the price should be? Or do we go to the aisle at Home Depot, let's say, and look at our options? Wait, there's options? Yeah. There's everything from a Milwaukee down to a Rigid and a DeWalt and a Makita and a Black & Decker and a Ryobi, right? And they're all different price points. And who knows what someone's going to choose? Maybe they forgot their drill at home and they just need something to get by, and so they buy something cheap. Maybe they only buy Milwaukee. Or maybe it's time to, they've been saving up and it's time to buy an impact drill and they want to buy the best. Or maybe their parents gave them all DeWalt for Christmas one year, and so they're just going to buy DeWalt. Or maybe they only have $150, so they're going to get as much as they can get for $150. You see, we have no idea. We have no idea what the price should be for an impact drill. And so we don't have an idea what the price should be for a service either. So how do you figure that out? Well, first you have to understand the market. And the market is all sorts of people with all sorts of ideas from all sorts of different backgrounds and all sorts of money. Some are dead broke. Some are saving for a down payment on a house. Some have retired. Some have won the lottery. Some have just made it big in something. We have no idea. So you have to lay out several options. Now, how do you do that? You have to understand the market. So you have to understand, you have to approach the market with curiosity. I'm always curious. Aren't you curious when you give out 5 options and just, you really can't predict what they're going to buy, can you? Haven't we all had the customer who's just got the broken down house and everything's a disaster and they buy your best and they just pay for it easily? Haven't we been to the millionaire's house with 2 Ferraris in the garage and they complain and tell you you're ripping them off? Isn't that true? So we can't really tell. So when you understand that and understand that, hey, I have no idea, but I'm going to be professional. I'm going to give out 5 options from the least I can do to the most I can do. And let's just see what happens, right? When you understand that the market is made up of lots of people with lots of different values and thoughts and ideas, different than yours and different than mine, then let's just give them 5 options and let them decide how they value us. And let me tell you something. The same person can have different values. I'll tell you a quick story. I grew up where it snowed all the time, and I grew up poor, and I never had snow tires. And I never bought snow tires. In fact, I took pride that I didn't have snow tires. I didn't need snow tires to drive in the snow. Never did. Then I got married. Then I had a kid. And I'll never forget the first time driving with my wife and my kid over the Cascades in the snow to Christmas at my parents' house. And it didn't go well. I didn't have snow tires. I was proud of that. And I'm zipping along. We're sliding around a little bit. It's no big deal. I'm kind of having fun. I actually like driving in the snow. And I like when it's kind of slick because it kind of keeps you awake, right? You got to make sure it goes well, right? You got to figure this out. It's not normal driving. I love it. My wife was freaked out. Like she was climbing out of her skin. It was a disaster. We were about ready to get divorced before we even got halfway across the pass. It was bad. It was not good. Have you ever been there? I'm not the only one. So I got there safely, but I took our car to the tire place. It was Les Schwab, and I asked them for their best snow tire. And then I says, can you get my wife on the phone and make sure she knows it's my best snow tire, the best snow tire you have available. And that's what we did. And so she was happy with that. And the drive home was completely different. The drive home was completely different. Now it was much more, she was still a little concerned about the snow, but not crawling out of her skin, right? And from that day on, I'm the same guy with the same skills, interested in driving in the snow. It's kind of fun. But now I always buy the best snow tires. Isn't that interesting? Our customers are that way too. Who knows? Who knows what or why they're going to choose what they're going to choose? Who knows? There's no way to predict. So offer 5. What if Home Depot said, this is the price it should be, and that's it? Well, there'd be no options, would there? Isn't that interesting? So the market is something we have no idea about, except we know there's lots of different ideas out there. So give your customers several options to let them buy from you. So number 2 is, how do you do options? Well, one thing is you can't be lazy in the explore period of your call. When you go on the call, what I say is we have to earn the right to leave a top option, to give a top option. So you can't just walk in there and then give them a top option and like, where'd this come from? Why is it so much different than that one? But when you ask lots of questions like, how long do you intend to live in the home? Has this ever happened before? Do you ever run out of hot water? How long does your water heater last before it gets cold? Do you ever go on vacation? You ask all these questions to figure out, like, why would you offer a tempering valve? Why would you offer a tempering valve if they never run out of hot water? See, that'd be kind of, okay, why would you do that? But what if they do run out of water a couple times a week? What if they have to have 2 showers in the morning and 2 showers at night so they don't run out of hot water? What if you could add a tempering valve so that they don't have to worry about that anymore? See, when you ask those questions and discover that, you are earning the right to offer that in a top option. So what I say is you have to ask enough questions to learn enough about your customer of what they might value and what they might appreciate, so that if they happen to be one of those people that just wants to get this over with, or some people always buy the best, some people always buy the cheapest too. I don't know. But you have to ask enough questions to figure out what they actually would value. Then you earn the right to offer your top option. I would offer this because it covers everything you talked about, everything that you're concerned about. It addresses all your concerns. It addresses all my concerns. It's got our longest warranty, right? It's got our most benefits, right? So number 2 is you have to earn the right by getting to know the customer in the situation to offer options that make sense. Does that make sense? And then number 3, you know what I love about options? Is you got to know what you're talking about. The brand new tech that doesn't know much has a really hard time giving very many options. He can't even think of the options, let alone know how to do them. So what I love about options is it forces you to become a training company. And guess what? I'm really passionate about apprenticeships. And where do you think your next great plumber is going to come from? You're probably not going to hire them. Most likely, you're going to create them. You're going to build them yourself. You're going to hire a young person. You're going to find the right one, and then you're going to train them. They're going to fall in love with the work. They're going to fall in love with the great money. They're going to fall in love with how good it feels to help other people out and do a good, honest day's work and make decent money at it, right? And you're going to create your first apprentice. You're going to become, if you want to leave options, you are going to have to become, which I think is a good thing, a training company. When we did this at our company, I'd go to the supply house and they'd say, why are you buying all these bells and whistles? You know how the supply house, you know how they come by and they show you the newest tempering valve, all the newest gizmos, and then we never sell them. Have you ever noticed that? Well, we started to sell all the cool stuff, tempering valves and circ pumps and flood stops, and my supplier actually asked me, you guys are the only guys that are buying this stuff. How are you doing that? Great question. How are you doing that? Put that in the bank. But, well, we just offered it. And people bought it. And people liked it, enjoyed it, because it did what it said it was going to do. So we became a training company that was passionate about training, learning how the new features worked and what the benefits were. We learned to know everything about our products so that we could offer it in an intelligent way, and knew what it would do and knew what it wouldn't do. So that's what I love. To give options, you have to become a training company, and you actually have to know what you're talking about, right? That the guy that doesn't know what he's talking about, he can replace a faucet all right. That's not hard. He doesn't even know how to repair it, right? And so the more mature technician, he can give options for repair and replace. That's just a simple example of the guys that don't know much can't give options. So I love that. So that's the 3 things. You have to understand the market. You have to understand what's going on in the market, that there's every kind of buyer out there, and you don't know who you're talking to. So understand that. Next, you have to explore enough to earn the right to offer your top options. So you have to know the customer and their situation, what they'll appreciate. And then you actually have to know what you're doing. I love that, because there's always people talking about sales in the trades. And I think sales are great. Sales are awesome, but you actually have to know what you're doing if you're going to sell well. In my opinion, there are those people that can sell when they don't know what they're doing. And that's a whole nother subject. And that's not what we're talking about here today. But now we've become a training company, so we actually know and are aware of options for our customers. And then now you got a real thing going on. So next time you hear someone's charged a higher price, before you say that's a ripoff, maybe consider that it was actually purchased, right? Maybe the customer actually wanted that. because that's what they value. I want to end this episode with a real story because this is where my conviction around options really came from. This was a woman I knew personally. Her husband had passed away just a few weeks earlier. She was a widow, so she was a widow, and she's living alone. She had left town for several weeks to visit her son. And while she was gone, her hot water supply line started leaking. It was all over the place. By the time she got home, the damage was everywhere. It was the worst I'd ever seen. Every ceiling had dew drips on them. The house was swollen shut. You literally couldn't open a door. They had to go in through the garage door when she got home. It was a complete disaster. Literally the worst I'd ever seen. Now, here's the part that really matters. Before I understood options, when we only had one price, I would have never sent my best text to her house or someone I knew. Not because I didn't care, but because I did care. I didn't want her to think I was expensive. I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. And I didn't want to feel awkward the next time I saw her at church. You ever been there? Right? That's what undercharging really looks like, though. It's fear disguised as kindness. But this time was different. We had options. We just learned how to give 5 options. So I sent out my best plumber confidently because I knew he'd run the process. Because I knew she wouldn't be cornered. She wouldn't be pressured. She would get to choose. Our plumber explored, asked questions, learned how she lived, how often she traveled, and what she was afraid of happening again. When you actually look at her situation, the choice she made makes perfect sense. She no longer had a husband to help with mechanical issues. She was gone for weeks at a time. She planned to live in that house for a long time. Like she never wanted to move again. So yeah, she chose my top option. Not because it was the only option. Not because that's what we charge. Not because anyone pushed her, but because it solved the problem once and for all. That option even included a flood stop because we understood what another failure would mean to her. And so did she, and she never wanted to experience that again. And for the first time ever, something changed for me. I didn't feel like I ripped her off. I didn't feel nervous about seeing her again. I felt proud of the work we did. Options didn't make me feel greedy. They made me feel honest. A couple weeks later, I saw her at church. She walked up to me, gave me a big hug, and thanked me. Not just for the work, but for how kind and professional our plumber was. That's when I knew this is why I believe so strongly in options. When you leave 5 options and let the customer choose, you're not charging more. You're respecting them more. And when you respect people, the right ones will happily pay more for the best. That's how you build a profitable business you're proud of. And that's how you serve people the right way. If you want to keep learning how to stop working for free and finally turn a profit and build the company you dreamed of at the start, I'd be honored if you would subscribe and follow, because that's my mission. And if you want to make the changes as quickly as efficiently as possible, check out the assessment in the comments below.